Hey guys, welcome back. And in this video, we will learn about for loops in Java. So what are for loops in Java? A for loop in Java is a statement that will continue to execute a block of code over and over again for a certain amount of time. To write a traditional for loop, first write the for keyword. Then write a set of parentheses after writing the for keyword. There are three arguments we put in the parentheses. First is initialization, then is condition, and third is increment. In Java, when writing a for loop, we need a counter to keep track. The first step in creating a for loop is the initialization phase, where we make our counter. To make it, simply write an integer variable and set it equal to 0. Make sure to end it with semicolon. One important thing we should know about our counter is that the number set for it initially will be the number it has for the first loop. The most common number to set is 0. After the first loop, our counter will increase or decrease according to the interval. The second step is condition. Our for loop will only run when all the conditions are true. If it is false, the for loop will not work. To set it, simply write a condition that will become false after the counter crosses a set number. You can use greater than and less than signs. When you are done, end it with a semicolon. The third and final step is incrementing. In this phase, we set the interval at which our counter will go up by. Usually the number is 1. To write this, simply write a mathematical expression. You can use addition, subtraction, or whatever you want. The double plus signs are a short way to add 1 to a variable. However, for the interval part, you don't need to end it with a semicolon. For this for loop, I will be printing a text on the console. If I run this program, we can see our text appearing on the console 10 times. We can also print what the value of our counter is for every loop. Here, we can see that we start with 0 and end with 9. The reason we end with 9 is because 10 is equal to 10. But in our condition, our loop would run if a number is lower than 10, not above or equal to 10. Thus, our loop ends with number 9. So far, the for loop we learned to write was the traditional for loop, where we first initialize our variable, then set a condition, and finally set an interval. But this is not the only way to write a for loop. Another for loop we can write is the enhanced for loop, or the for each loop. For this type of for loop, we iterate through all the items in an array. In short, an array in Java is a list that is used to carry more than one value or item for a single variable. In the enhanced for loop, the block is only repeated until the array ends. So if you have 100 items in a list, the for loop will repeat your block of code 100 times. To write the enhanced for loop, first write your counter variable. Make sure that the data type of the variable matches the items in your list. If the items are strings, the counter must have a string data type. Then write a colon. The colon tells the computer that we are looking into our list variable. If it makes it easier, the colon can be considered a sign for the word inside. And finally, write the name of the array you want to look into. One last thing we should keep in mind is that the counter for the enhanced loop, or the for each loop, is the item on the list. So for the first loop, the counter would have the value of the first item. In the second loop, it will be the second item. And in the third loop, it will be the third item, and so on. So knowing this, we can use the enhanced loop and then print the value of our counter on the console for every loop until the list ends. If we run this, we can see exactly that. All the items are printed in separate lines. We can even use the for each loop for an array list. Here, we have an array list with a variable of food_list. Then we added our food items using the add function. And finally, we are using our enhanced for loop. If we run this, it will work the same way as before. That's it for today's video. Like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.